I will never forget the moment I realized I was leading two versions of myself. In one meeting, I was told I was too direct. In another meeting, too reserved. Same person, same intentions, completely different readings. And I thought, what am I doing wrong? Turns out I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was navigating cultural competence without a map. And that moment changed how I lead forever. Today, I will show you that map, how to move from cultural awareness, which most leaders have, to cultural competence, where the real influence begins. This is Rise with Betty. Let's go. So let's start with what we know. Cultural awareness is knowing that differences exist. You've taken the training, you've read the articles, you've heard the talks, you know communication, hierarchy, and time means different things in different cultures. This is awareness. But awareness alone doesn't change how you lead. It doesn't help you when your ideas get dismissed and you don't know why. It doesn't help when you're praised for something that doesn't feel like you. Cultural competence is different. It is the ability to read these differences and respond with strategy and confidence. And for professional women, this is not optional. This is survival. Because we are not just leading across cultures. We are often living between these cultures. So how do we build this confidence and competence? Let me show you. Cultural competence has 4 stages. I call it the RISE framework. R is for recognize, I for integrate, S for strategize, and E for elevate. Let's walk through them. Stage 1, recognize. This is where most people stop. You recognize cultural differences, you notice them, maybe even name them. But recognition without reflection is just observation. The real shift is this. Don't just recognize the culture, recognize your response to it. I once had a colleague from East Asia who rarely spoke up in meetings. For months, I assumed she wasn't engaged, maybe not a leadership material. Then one day, she sent a 10-page memo, very strategic and thoughtful, and I realized I've been judging her through my own cultural lens, expecting vocal assertiveness, when her own leadership came through written precision. Both are leadership, I just wasn't recognizing hers. So ask yourself today, what assumptions am I making about how leadership should look? Write that down. That is your starting point. Stage 2, integrate. Now you're aware the next step is integration. This is where you stop code switching out of survival and start adapting out of strategy. So integration doesn't mean erasing who you are. It means translating who you are authentically and intentionally. So let's say you come from a culture that values indirect communication and relational trust building, but you work in a fast-paced Western environment that rewards directness. You don't have to become someone else. You integrate. You may say, I've been reflecting on this deeply, and here is what I recommend we do. That honors your reflective process and meets the clarity that your workplace expects. You're not shrinking, you're translating, and that's power. Stage 3, strategize. So now we move from the inner work to the outer strategy. This is where you learn to read the room. This is what I call cultural code reading. So you take notice of who speaks first, who defers. Is the silence awkward or respectful? Is the energy competitive or collaborative? Once you can read this code, you can then design your presence instead of reacting to the moment. So I once coached a woman who was constantly interrupted in meetings. She thought it was about gender, and maybe it was partly, but we discovered that her organization was deeply hierarchical. She hadn't positioned herself in that hierarchy. So she began opening meetings by referencing her expertise, linking her recommendations to a senior leader's endorsement, not ego, strategy, and suddenly people listened. So cultural competence isn't about playing politics. It's about knowing which signals unlock influence in a given context. Stage 4, this is where competence becomes leadership. Elevation means you don't have to navigate culture, you shape it. You set new norms, You create inclusion in real time. So a leader I mentored, a Nigerian American managing teams across 3 different continents, did this beautifully in one meeting. So an European teammate kept cutting off an Indian colleague. She paused and said, let's make sure we're hearing everyone's full thought before we move on. Priyanka, please finish your point. She did not shame anyone. She didn't make it about bias. She elevated the communication standard for everyone. This is cultural competence in action. So here is your reflection moment. Where are you on this journey? Are you recognizing differences but unsure of what to do with them? Are you integrating, learning to bring out your full self? Are you strategizing, reading the codes and designing your presence? Or are you elevating, leading others through complexity? There is no wrong stage, but there is a next stage. And recognizing that this is leadership in itself. So here is your challenge for this week. Think of one meeting where you felt culturally misaligned. Then ask yourself 3 questions. What cultural lenses am I using? What cultural lenses was the other person using? What could I have translated instead of compromised? Write it down. Reflect. Because cultural competence doesn't build in theory, it builds in moments. So, cultural competence isn't about being perfect, it's about being present to yourself, to others, and to the space in between. And when you lead from that place, you don't just rise, you lift others with you as well. So if this resonated with you, please subscribe and share with other women in your circle who is navigating culture and leadership with courage. Because when we rise together and we change what leadership looks like. I am Betty, and this is Rise with Betty. See you next week.